And that is all I got. I'll pass it over to our moderator, Michelle, to kick things off, and enjoy.
Thanks so much. It's such an honor to be here with you all tonight. Thank you for bearing with the weather. I tell you, I was just joking with these ladies. Get a couple of drops of rain and it's like no one knows how to drive anymore, right? You know that. I don't know what it is, but hey, I'm so glad to be here with you all tonight. We are so honored at the Center for Women in Enterprise to be partnering with Startup Boston with these amazing panelists. Really excited to be here with you all tonight. So to kick us off, let's do some introductions. Right? Hey, so I'm Michelle Miller with the Center for Women in Enterprise. Folks who may not be familiar with us, we are a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping women start and grow businesses. We are very gender inclusive, so when we say women, we mean we welcome all genders, but anyone who identifies as women, we hope you will join us and be a part of our space. I have been with the Center for Women in Enterprise for about 8 years, and I always joke about this because now I'm in a position to help folks figure out how to start their business, grow their business, troubleshoot. Before I came here, I had a coffee shop for about 5 years, and I just started it because why not, right? I put myself through college, working in coffee shops. How different could it really be owning your own thing, right? Morgan Freeman, the narrator, says it was not that easy. Anyhow, super excited to be here with you all tonight. Excited to kick us off with some introductions. So why don't we kick us off? We know that Queen is going to be joining us in a minute, but I'm just going to pass it right down the aisle for intros.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. There's many places that you could be tonight, and I appreciate you being here with us. I'm Melissa James, and I'm the founder of Real Career Revolution, where we tell people, or women, the difference between what we were told about our career versus the reality that we're experiencing. This job market is crazy right now, and there's lots of conversation around what is our next best step when there's so many different options to choose. So my Instagram page is where we have these conversations. I have been an entrepreneur for the past 14 years. Prior to starting Real Career Revolution, I ran my own company called The Tech Connection that matched diverse talent to tech companies. Before that, I was a recruiter at Google. I was specifically helping them recruit diverse talent into their engineering team. Maybe you're starting to see the connections here. But I really have just fallen in love with helping people design their career and something that they're super proud of. So excited to be here tonight.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming as well. So my name is Maria Gorski, and I'm the founder and executive director of Dream Venture Labs. And we are also a nonprofit organization supporting immigrant founders through different programs. We have a program that's an incubator. We have an accelerator connecting startups with student interns. We have the Build Fellowship, where we support founders on H-1B visas. So we do a lot of fun stuff. I'm also a co-founder of Women X Innovators, which is a small community of women in entrepreneurship here in Boston. So we recently had our first conference in April, planning another one in summer. Hopefully it's going to happen. So definitely want to talk with everyone here in the room after this panel, learn more about your stories as well, and see how we can work together as women in entrepreneurship.
And I trust we will be getting invitations to that conference. That sounds amazing. All right, so again, welcome everyone. Thanks so much for being here. I'm going to kick us off with our first question, but I'm going to do it with a little bit of a preface. So I felt this way when I had my coffee shop, but I didn't really know how to identify what I was feeling until I sold the shop, started working for the Center for Women in Enterprise and helping women start to grow their own businesses. And that feeling is isolation. It's amazing, right? Because as a woman, right, we are running our households, we are running our businesses. Most of the time, we are also running our jobs, our 24/7 jobs that we need to do in order to make things meet. So what's amazing about that is that we are surrounded by people, all the time, but we feel really alone. So here is what I am asking these two amazing women to my left here, which is how would you recommend female founders identify their support system?
This one's a good one. Well, the topic of lonely leadership is real because, right, like you're this super ambitious woman, which is untraditional. Most people are still kind of like trying to figure out like what is it that she's all about, where is she trying to go? Trust me, I've had plenty of boyfriends that were so confused by it because they were totally expecting that I would cook and clean and be home every day. And that, honey, is just not me. I just can't do that. I have limited energy and I put it towards my work. So either I'm doing what I love or I'm sleeping. That's about it. I only have 2 modes. So the thought of lonely leadership is real. I certainly have definitely lost boyfriends because of that. They couldn't quite handle it, but also just figuring out who are the right supports was super important to me. So I would often go to conferences, events like this to connect with someone who had like a similar vibe to where I was trying to go. So if I found someone whose energy was like really good and like really captivating, I was like, you're gonna be my mentor. I'm sorry. We're about to be stuck together. We're gonna follow up. And that's actually how I created a lot of my support groups. And I was also very intentional about the kinds of women that I wanted to be friends with. For me, it was always wanting to be friends with people that were A players, that were go-getters in their own individual fields, even if it wasn't related to entrepreneurship, because we had similar values. We cared, we had a lot of hustle, we had a lot of grit, we had a lot of perseverance, and we had a lot of ambition. If you have those like 3 things, the grit, perseverance, and ambition, this is what I call like the new GPA, we can be friends.
Yeah, this is very true. And you know, there are so many communities in Boston. It's a pretty good place to be an entrepreneur. And actually, when I was a student, I used to be overwhelmed with all the different e-clubs or schools or events and communities. So it seems like there's everything already. But I remember in fall, I was talking with a couple of my friends who are women founders. And we were talking about, you know, a recent event we went with for like women who are fundraising. And we're thinking, we should find a community to join, you know, to find mentors who are women, and to really just get all the information about these cool events, right? So we don't miss them. And after looking for it, we realized that there was none, not in Boston at least, not like a recurring event, coffee shop, meetup. There are a lot of events, but again, not like really a community or a place you can share your ideas or get a mentor. And as entrepreneurs, we decided to create it ourselves. So we all had our own startups or organizations that we were working on. So we just started a Slack group with just 3 of us and posted it on LinkedIn. And I think we got 250 people in it, like in a month or 2. Yeah, and our conference, you know, it was just an idea, and we just did it just because we wanted more friends who are women and founders, because most of our friends who are founders were men, which is fine. But, you know, there are some things that, you know, only we kind of understand. So I would say if you can't find a community that you really want to be a part of, you know, you can create it as a fellow entrepreneurs with your fellow entrepreneurs.
I love this. So my follow-on question for you, and this is something that I ran into both when I had my coffee shop, I sort of reached out to other business owners and didn't do it really well. By the way, being an introvert is a little tough when you're trying to do what these ladies are describing. But so I ran into that, and then even since becoming a mother, it was a similar thing. I'd join these mom groups, and I'd be a part of chats, and we do. But then when it came to actually nurturing that support system, nurturing that network, things seem to fall off. So here's what I'd love to ask you two now. Once you create the support system, you find your connections, how do you nurture it?
I love brunch. I love it so much. It's like my favorite meal ever. So if you ever want to go out for brunch, tell me that there's going to be pancakes there, and I'm pretty much going to show up. So for me, like, I definitely understand that brunch is the way that like I communicate. I call them millionaire brunches because that's when I have like my closest girlfriends come and we talk about like our ideas, where we are in our career, what's next, how are things going, which boss is the one that's not for you, when is it time for them to change their job. Like, we get into it during our brunch. So for me, I used to love to host brunch dates. I host them with my girlfriends. They don't know it, but they're all on like a 2-week schedule where I rotate. So I'm like, I'm always going out for brunch. I pick the location that I love, and then I just invite different friends each time. So I have one-on-one conversations with them because they're all experts in their field.
Yes.
They all tell me about all the trends that are happening in their space. and we have these brunches that I just love to do. I look forward to them, and I've really enjoyed it. So now I'm known for brunch. Every party that I host is a brunch. Reggae brunch was the last one that I did. So like just living on brand is so important to me. So that's how I maintain my relationships. They don't know it. I guess they know it now.
This is very true. I love brunch. This is also something that we do every Saturday.
Oh my God.
Really collaborate on these things. You know, well, it's just great. So when we started this community, you know, we're thinking a lot about nurturing it because there are so many communities that like start every other week, but then, you know, Slack dies off, people stop being interested, right? So it's very important to constantly support it. And in-person meetings are extremely important. You know, meeting someone face-to-face over a nice coffee. So we set up a date every Saturday. We meet at Flower Bakery, like here nearby. It's amazing. I'll say it's very close to where I live, so I don't have to drive that far. And you know, everyone is welcome to join us. It's every Saturday at 11. So pretty much people come and go. Usually we have around from 5 to 10 people, which is like a very nice small group. And I was able to meet one of my, you know, best friends there because you constantly see a person every Saturday and, you know, you just really get to know them. And this is like also an amazing way to really build your network, support your community, and also build credibility for what you're building. Since, you know, again, a lot of people love attending brunches and coffee shops, which is really important to build good connections.
So anytime someone wants to break out some mimosas, I'm not gonna argue, just so you know. That's it. So I love what you both are saying about the in-person brunches and getting together. I especially love the idea of ritual because we're all busy, right? We need things that can fit into our regular schedules. Some folks really have a tough time with in-person engagements, especially people like me who have a 7-month-old. So I'm really curious how you might leverage social media, online platforms to build meaningful relationships and connections, amplify each other's voices when in-person connections are possible.
I definitely have a lot of friends that are like new moms that are getting adjusted to that new stage in life, and I definitely want to be supportive of that. So one thing that I find is voice memos work really well because then I can hear their voice, I can be excited with them about like what's going on in my life, what's going on in their life, and then they can listen to it at any time. Like my mom friends are definitely up at like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, super late at night where I'm like passed out by like 8, 9 o'clock. So like it works really well for us. And then sometimes I just send them like little videos to pop up on their message feed where I'm just saying like, I love you, I miss you so much, please come and see me when you have time. So those little like reminders are just so sweet and really personable.
Yeah, and for the social network, you know, I live on LinkedIn, so we feel like, you know, we need to support more voices, right? So it's top voice on LinkedIn, you know, there are a lot of men, right? And there are not a lot of women who post a lot and who get a lot of following. And a lot of this thing is just some people who get like 100 likes under the post, they just have a group chat where they say, I just posted, please repost and like it, right? Which is very important to really bring good posts and good messages, you know, to a bigger audience. So one way we do it is, you know, we have a Slack channel. So we're like, I just posted about this event, you know, please like, comment, respond, and the algorithm does work. Like if you're trying to build your presence and to spread your message, you know, build up a big community, at least, you know, 10 people who are willing to jump on LinkedIn and really quickly like your post in the first few minutes. So you can spread the message further.
Love it, and I'm so excited to welcome Queen.
Oh, Queen.
I have the immense pleasure of knowing Queen from before our conversation tonight. I've spent entirely too much money on her own designs, some of which she is wearing. So nobody go for a fitting with Queen. Okay, don't do it unless you want to give out several paychecks. So Queen, let me kick the question that I just asked these two ladies to you, and then we will move on, which is, and actually maybe you could just throw in a little bit about your business as an intro when we get into it. So what is your business? And we're curious about how you can leverage social media to build meaningful relationships and connections.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Queen Olotepapo, and yes, Queen is my official birth name. I am the CEO and creative director of Queen Adeline. Queen Adeline is a sustainable wearable art studio brand. Yes, it's a mouthful, but it's very important for all that. And my mission is really to help empower women to go out in their creative selves whilst being mindful of their impact on the environment through fashion. So everything is handmade, well made, made to last, and hopefully bringing my African heritage along my creations. So let's jump right in. I do apologize for turning up late. I had a couple of things with family. I have 3 very young children, so I feel like this, it's very, in all transparency, I had to bring that up so that you do understand. The struggle is very real, right? Leveraging social media, I have come to a place, and I always tell people, especially female founders, that gone are the days where like all your hard work did the talking for you. Now the hard work is really social media. You need to do all the hard work on there. And for women or female identifying people, we traditionally or quote unquote stereotypically would not want to brag about ourselves, our achievements, what we have going on. Unfortunately, that's what social media is about. And so being able to fine tune your presence and I call it throwing in the hook, finding a way to be part of that medium is very important. If you don't, you are not going anywhere. You can be social on social media without being social. And if we go down that route, I have a lot of things to say, but the first and foremost is you cannot live in this 21st century. You cannot live as an entrepreneur who's trying to do good in the world, who's trying to stay profitable, who's trying to ensure that what you are doing is viable. You cannot live outside of social media. You need to find your strength and you need to find where to plug it, but it is a must.
I hear you. I meet entirely too many women, and I relate to it, right? As I mentioned before, I'm naturally an introvert. I just don't for things like this. But it's tough as an entrepreneur because you do really need to put yourself out there on social media, and many women feel guilty about that, which I think is really at the root of a lot of this nervousness. And something that we should absolutely talk about. You should brag about yourself. But since we were in the womb, we were told just a little bit quieter, just a little bit behind, right? Just think. So it's definitely a mindset shift that takes a lot. And so I hope you all will lean into these amazing ladies on the panel who have figured out how to combat that narrative and really leverage their business using the tools that are out there, that are available. So what I would love to hear from all of you is I would love to hear a little bit of an anecdote, little story from you about a time that you received support from other women entrepreneurs, other women partners, how that support helped you to overcome something that you were facing, get into your goals. So maybe we can go down the line again, if that's all right.
Sure, happy to. So one of my favorite mentors is a woman named Jackie Glenn, and I love her to pieces. She's also Jamaican, formerly the Chief Diversity Officer for Glenn. She does run her own firm now called Glenn Diversity, but she was the former Chief Diversity Officer for Dell and for EMC. So she was one of my mentors that I met at a conference. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I want to get into HR. And I'm like looking to learn more. Can you teach me? And she was like, absolutely no problem. And when I started my business, the Tech Connection, we had actually many passionate discussions where she's a little bit older and she was like, no, stay corporate, you'll be just fine. And I was like, no, I'm going to be an entrepreneur and I'm going to do it now. She's like, oh my gosh, these young girls, they always want to be entrepreneurs and try it out. So of course we had 2 very different perspectives on what to do. She was thinking something more safe and more secure, which I totally understand. But I was thinking more like, I'm young, I have the opportunity to take a risk. Why wouldn't I? I have no kids. Like, let me just live life and see what happens on the other side. Anywho, she still 100% supported me. And anytime I wanted to go to a conference that I couldn't quite afford yet, I'd be like, hey Jackie, I want to go to this conference, or I see that you're speaking here. Can I tag along with you? So she was amazing. I mean, I probably went to at least 10 different conferences with her. she would either give me a free ticket and say like, hey, grab your flight, don't worry about it, I'll take care of the ticket, just come along. Or she would say like, actually this one, I'm the main speaker, so like, you're coming with me as part of mine too, and we would fly in together, get a limo together, and then get the master suite together. I was like, Jackie, this is how you live? She was like, I was trying to tell you, like, just go corporate, you'd be great. I was like, oh, okay, I kind of see what you're saying. So I'm just really lucky to have her as like a phenomenal mentor that would always just believe in my dreams. And if she could help out any little way, I know she would 110%.
So my friend's gotta step it up. Moving on down.
No, this is very true. I feel like I've been supported by women my whole life. You know, I can't even recite all the moments from my friends, classmates, to my professors. You know, it's really good support network, right? If you really nurture it. I think one example was very interesting is right when we started our community, I think it was like 1 month in, and we just built our Slack. I had to find like 10 judges for the accelerator that we were running at Dream Venture Labs, and a bunch of different mentors. And I was like, that's gonna be like a month-long task, LinkedIn outreach, you know, like reaching out to all my network connections. So the first thing I did, I just texted in the group chat, you know, explained the situation. I was like, who would like to mentor, you know, our immigrant founders? And by the end of the week, I think I got all the judges and all the mentors from one Slack message. Incredible amount of people reached out to me and DM'd me, and like, I would love to help. I would love to be a judge, you know, VCs, executive directors, fellow founders. I didn't even know they were actually in the Slack channel. Like it's when I met them through DMs. So that was incredible, right? This one task that was supposed to be very long, and usually is a very long process, was complete. And they were incredible judges, incredible mentors. I think they're still working with us, mentoring our founders and the next cohort as well, which is just you know, I feel like emphasizes the importance of having this community and really using it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
So when you posed that question, two things jumped to mind, and as I'm thinking about it now, I'm realizing they are really related. So my first mentor who made such a profound impression on myself and actually helped me to move my business forward was a lady called Allison Mitchell, and she actually started a handbag line. She was in Nordstrom and one of these other, she was in this like really bed of good man. And so luckily for me, she was like 2 studios down from my studio. So I had this like bugging issue and I just didn't know who to tell. And so I had gone in there and I had befriended her. I was like, hey, how did you get into these high-end stores? That was my initial hook. I wanted to find out what the whole process was like. I'm an up-and-coming designer. I wanted to get into like the high-end stores. And so whilst I got to know her and started frequenting her place, one thing that had happened to me when I started my business was I had taken my clothing line to a retailer who was also excited. She was my first consignee, and once she bought, my money never came back. She gave me half of my money, and about $4,000 never came back. Finally, when I got the courage, because I was a new designer, not tried, not tested. Finally, when I got the courage to say, hey, it's past your due, when am I gonna get? I don't even know why I bought the things. I don't think this is good for my store, blah, blah, blah. All right, can I have my stuff back? I'm busy, I don't know when. Let's talk about this later. So I'm just telling this story to link these two things. I was intimidated by this woman who had been in business for years, selling clothes, and a lot of people knew the store. And I was afraid to speak up because if I did and she badmouthed my brand, then I was not going anywhere. I let this fester for about 3 months, and finally the day I decided enough is enough, my family had a terrific, horrific accident. I don't want to talk about it now, but it had to do with one of my children. And so I felt that in my head as, it's bad, don't ever go back for your money again. So I finally, one day, plucked the courage and I said to Allison, this is what happened to me. I have moved past she owing me that money. I feel like I'm wearing a badge of shame 3 years down the line, feeling like I am a kick-ass entrepreneur and I couldn't collect my money back from somebody. So she listened to me, she looked at me, she was like, Queen, was that the first time? I was like, yes, my first ever client. She never paid me back. She was like, how much? And I said, it was less than $4,000. She was like, take it as your business school fees. I was like, what do you mean by that? She was like, do you know the number of designers who are screwed by retail outlets, who never get paid back for inventory, who are given chargebacks, who go bankrupt because they didn't put ironclad contracts in when they engaged with these businesses? Can I tell you my story? I had somebody owe me $30,000 and I still haven't seen that money, and yours is the least, so consider that your business school fee. I'm telling you that story because for 3 years, I didn't realize that became a blockade for me. I didn't want to have anything to do with retailers. I didn't want to go the wholesale route. I mean, hey, up till now, I just have a couple of wholesalers. I don't even know if that still is a part of that. But speaking to Allison, who was a mentor, who owned up to that mistake that a veteran like her had gone through, and telling me that, oh, actually, it is pretty common in this field of business for people to take your inventory, and when they can't sell it, they screw you by either not paying you or they come up with stories about you. So take that. That knowledge actually freed me and gave me the permission to move on. And up to date, I do value her for her transparency and willingness to be vulnerable before me to tell me that story. Why am I saying this? Most of the times when we see female founders or female entrepreneurs, we just hear about their successes, we hear about their achievements. Most often than not, people are not willing to tell you the times when they were not kicked as female founders, the times when they were not smart, the times when they were outwitted. And those are the stories that we need to hear as well to help us be able to stand. I think I've taken much of the time. I was going to connect that to a second story, but that's fine.
I was about to tell you to drop the mic because I mean, that just, you touched on so many important points there, Queen. One of which, I'll start with the ending, then I'll go with a couple of thoughts, but one is celebrating everything that happens to you in business. I know someone who I had the opportunity to work with through CWE not too long ago who ended up closing her business, and on the surface, that may seem like a failure, right? That's what we tend to, even at CWE, a nonprofit, the funders of our organization only want to hear when people start a business, when they hire a new employee, that's it. But in talking to this woman, what I heard was she started a cleaning business because she was trying to create a retirement plan for her mother, who had immigrated from Guatemala and was working day in and day out to take care of her kids. So her daughter decided to start a cleaning business to give her mother a retirement strategy. She ended up kicking ass. She ended up getting forgive my language, sorry. She ended up getting a contract with the Woo Sox to clean their stadiums. And about 3 months after she got that contract, she told me that she was going to close her business. And I thought, oh no. What she had realized through entrepreneurship was that she was only doing this for everybody else. And then she ended up being really good at it. So she kept doing it because people started expecting it from her. So she ended up closing her business because she learned to celebrate and do things that she wanted to do for her, right? So I really love that about what you were just saying, Queen. So sometimes our failure, we learn from everything. Every single thing that happens to us, we learn from. And so I love that. I imagine these ladies have some really important stories similar with things that didn't work well, that may have ended up being a blessing in disguise, like the cleaning company person I was just describing, or may just be an outright, hey, this didn't work. All right, lessons learned, move on, like what Queen was describing. So I would love to hear if our other panelists have any similar stories of things that didn't really work out so well for them, before I turn it over to questions. Let me go first.
I mean, I don't like the concept of failure. I think one of my mentors early on said, you only fail when you give up on entrepreneurship. So everything that doesn't work out, I consider it a pivot, right? And I pivoted a lot. I started doing different startups when I was in college, and a lot of them didn't work out, right? Because just learning. But I never called them a failure, because again, the failure is only when you give up on your dreams and just go back and never try again. So not necessarily have failure stories, I have pivot stories, right? And a lot of them. But again, I'm a very positive person overall, and I think being positive is very important, because being an entrepreneur, especially women, it can be hard, Someone says something to you or question you, or something doesn't work out, and you feel like it's only you. Like you tend to blame it on yourself and not on the team, the product, or just the circumstances. So I think staying positive and always thinking it's just a pivot, it's just a business school fee.
Yeah.
Which was definitely less than my business school fee that I made. This is just, it's just lessons, pivots, and everything that happens for the best.
100%. I mean, I think like you're absolutely right. It's not that you failed, it's just that you had to like continue learning. And I think like that's actually a really important message to keep in mind, because we can convince ourselves of these mental blocks and it can hold on to you for years. And certainly I've had like my ups and downs as well, where you thought like a partnership was genuine and then you find out actually they had other ulterior motives or a different approach on what they were thinking. And I think that's also really hard. There are some people that are in the entrepreneurship space that are not always genuine. And that's really hard, and you don't know which is which until you go through it. And it is the most expensive lesson that you learn. And it's just like, oh my gosh, I want to trust everyone. I want to believe that everybody is good. But some people you'll notice, right? Like there are some investors that just like to hear new and creative ideas because it's fun. Some investors will, sometimes I've seen it where they've taken someone's idea before, but of course you have to remember that like the way that you do it is uniquely you. Nobody else has the swag that you have. So their approach of taking it on is not going to go half as far, or maybe they just got excited in that one moment, and then they don't follow up with it. So that's why you have to really love what you do, because there's all different types of people that are out there that you're going to come across. And the reality is that you won't know until you give them that opportunity. But once they show you who they are, believe them. And if you don't feel comfortable, the vibes feel off, it is totally okay to not respond to their message, to not follow up, or just tell them like, I'm busy right now, I've got a lot on my plate, I really wish we could connect, I'll reach out to you when I'm ready. Because honestly, like, no, you don't owe anybody in this space anything besides giving your dream the opportunity to reach its full potential. That's like really hard to do as a woman. And I'm saying it out loud, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I have to be selfish for my dream. I have to focus on my dream more than other things that are quite the opposite of who I am, right? I want to be kind and loving and sweet to everybody, but sometimes if you're not returning that energy, I have to create boundaries that work well for me. So I certainly have seen like the good and the bad of like people that maybe start out well-intentioned, but for some reason down the line, they might see a bigger opportunity or another way to take it, and they change their personality, they change the relationship that you have with them. And for me, I used to get really sad about it. I was like, wait, I thought we were homies. Like, what happened? Like, why would you do that? Like, I know myself. I'm nice, I'm friendly, I'll go up and talk to anyone, but I had to realize that that was a reflection of who they are and not a reflection of who I am. And it would take me years to let that go, right? Because like, I'm genuinely a good person. And for whatever reason, who they genuinely are just doesn't align with me. And that was really hard to understand. So I guess I gave you lots of examples, but really just wanting to highlight the different types of personalities that are in the entrepreneurship space.
Michelle, can I really add one last thing?
Of course.
One of the salient things that I've come across that I wish that we would all take along with us is sometimes it's okay. Entrepreneurship is a journey. And so if during your journey, you feel there is a need to pause, it's okay. You can pause and reset. That is the message. I feel like that's one of the messages that is missing in this whole ecosystem. It's not a failure. You can put that on the back burner and figure out you, because if you are not 100%, it doesn't matter what you are cooking. So this is a difficult message to come across, especially when, as female founders, we are trying to juggle 1,001 roles. We are trying to be it all to everybody, and in the end, we lack being whatever it is that we need to be for ourselves. You have the permission to put it on pause, and pausing sometimes is different from pivoting. Sometimes you just need to pause, breathe, and then get back at it again, and it's totally fine.
I just had
Please. No, please don't apologize. This is great stuff.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that, because honestly, it's really hard to do something that's opposite of what you think. Like, so much of my worth came from my productivity. I grew up as like an immigrant daughter. My parents are West Indian, my mom's Jamaican, my dad's from St. Kitts Nevis. So like for me, I just watched them work like Rihanna. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to work. And I like embedded that into myself. And I have always hustled through things, meaning like I worked 2 jobs while I went to college. I was like, this is just what you have to do in order for you to be successful. Well, I did it again. So when I wanted to go and start even working in a startup, I always had a second job because I was so nervous about financial stability and financial security. And then even when I worked at Google, I still had another job. Like, I just didn't believe that I would ever accumulate enough financial stability that I could stop working 2 jobs. And like, that was like a nuance to me. Somebody one day said that to me, my manager, actually, my favorite manager. He was like, Melissa, why do you do this? And I was like, because and I couldn't come up with an answer because my parents had 4 kids. They had to put food on the table. I didn't have any kids. At that time, I was living at home. I didn't have all these financial constraints, but I had believed it in my head. So for years, I've always been that like extra hustler, that overachiever who's over prepared for things. And then slowly, my wellness started to change. It was surprising. I was running Tech Connection. One day I was sitting down having a conversation with a friend, and I was like, oh my God, my heart feels like it's racing, but I'm just sitting down. And I was sitting next to a friend, a guy friend, his name's Kofi, and he was like, Melissa, you've said that 3 times. I'm gonna need you to make a doctor's appointment now so that we can like figure out what's going on. And long story short, I found out that I was having 10 heart palpitations a day. My cardiologist was like, you're only supposed to have them like once or twice a month. I was so stressed and so anxious that I wasn't even paying attention to my own body and my own health. And of course, being me, I looked at the cardiologist and I said, I will get there, but not right now. I'm in the middle of a project, I gotta get it done, but I hear everything that you're saying, thank you so much. And then he was like, hey, you gotta cut out rice. And I was like, what? Let's talk about something realistic. I need rice in my life. I can't just cut out rice to just all of a sudden be healthy tomorrow. Of course, I ignored my body, continued to push on. And then finally, actually recently, I was so stressed out at work that I got stress-induced vitiligo. And it started to show up on my face. And I was like, what the heck is this? Oh my gosh, it must be some chemical that I used. It must be something else. I went to all the doctors. They're like, I don't think it was that chemical. I'm not really sure. How's your stress? And it literally was like, my sister's fine, it's normal, like, you know, what I normally do, it's totally fine. I travel for work, I go here, I go there, and I gotta do this, and gotta get this done. And she was like, do you think maybe you need to take a wellness break? And I was like, what's that, honey? I don't know what you're talking about. And then I talked about it with my therapist, and she was like, I think you need to take a year off of work. I was like, lady, you're nuts. First of all, who can afford that? A year off of work is expensive. Can you imagine just willingly stopping your career for a year?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
I was
not.
like, she's just making those things up. Like, there's no way I can do it. June 24th will be my year.
Yes.
And I'm really, really proud of myself for taking that break.
Yes. That is amazing. Thank you all so much. I'm conscious of the time. We have, what, 15 minutes, right? So I'm going to turn it over to all of you, but I hope you all will join me in celebrating all three of these ladies, but also at some point, I need to hear how you made this year off work. I mean, this is amazing and something that so many of us need to do, and it makes me think of really what both you and Queen were saying about some of these concepts of internalized sexism. I mean, it gets you, right? This is a real thing. So thank you all so much for your time. Let me kick it over to the audience. What questions do y'all have for these amazing ladies? Right here.
Wonderful. 1 second.
Oh,
We
sorry.
do have one virtual question to start that does kind of coincide with what the panel was just discussing. So give me 1 second.
Hi, everybody. On the topic of money, we have a virtual question around funding. So are you all self-funded or did you get financing to start your business? And then a part two, if anyone wants to address it, is what are your best tips for finding funding as a social for-profit business?
I can go first. So I am self-funded, and I always tell people I started my business with $600. And there are pros and cons. There's a reason why I'm still self-funded and bootstrapped and everything else in between. I think that as founders and more especially as female founder, whether we like it or not, there is always that narrative of financial empowerment or financial freedom tied into purpose and passion. And so for me, the baseline was, where is this leading to? I knew definitely this was a passion project because I left the corporate world and consulting world to become a designer and to design consciously. I knew it was going to take time for this to become something substantial. So I definitely knew that I wasn't ready to invite investors in there because I wanted it to be something that I would build that would become a legacy for my children and generations to come. So first and foremost, in tackling funding, you need to address these two things. What is your end goal? Are you building a business as part of a passion and just to sustain yourself? Is it a legacy project? Are you looking to become for it to become a stepping stone onto something else? Then you decide how you want to scale, because that would determine whether you would bootstrap, invite friends and family, or go the next route of getting funders, getting venture capitalists or other sources of funding. So definitely sitting down to put down your plan and deciding, kind of working backwards, what's my end goal? And sometimes you really would not know what the end goal is, but it helps to be able to have a foresight of where it is that you're trying to go. And I have to be honest, there have been times when I have had venture capitalists approach, they want to grow this, they want to grow it big and fast, because I have proven myself, I've been on the market for 10 years now, I'm selling, but also I needed to balance my life. For me, wellness is very important. I have 3 very young children, 3 under the ages of 12. And so family life is very important to me. Growing a fashion and beauty brand that fast involves going around the whole world, moving up and down. And I needed to make a decision whether that was the route probably not yet. And so there's always that answer of not yet when you're thinking about funding. That's what I have to say.
Yeah, I agree with Quinn. Working with founders, question of funding is probably the first on everyone's mind. And I think the best one answering the question is non-dilutive funding, right? If you're a university student, that's the best. There's so many competition for your university and from outside universities. Like they really like students, right? You get 10,000. I think when I was a student, I got 30,000, something like that, non-dilutive funds, right? Accelerator, competition, just join everything. Not from just I went to BU, but BU is great school for everything, but go to every other event, right? Outside of Massachusetts as well. And you don't, again, when you get non-dilutive funding, you're not committed to investors. You're still an independent woman, which is the best thing because I had to pivot a lot. And people who raise funding, it's a pain. It's a huge responsibility. So I always say bootstrap or non-dilutive, family and friends, do what you have to do. If you have a nonprofit, that's a little easier. In some cases, there are more grants available, but still even for a for-profit business, get mentors, go out there and, even, again, non-dilutive is the best. So, some businesses can't go without venture capital funding, right? If you were selling hardware or some huge innovation or lab or biotech, right? For this way, it's definitely, go raise, right? But it is hard, especially in this market. In this market, I think the most resilient businesses are going to come out because not a lot of people are getting funding, not a lot of women. Today I was in the women's breakfast with Mendoza Ventures, and they said in Boston this year it was 0.7%, I think, women got out of all startups that are funded this year, only 0.7% were women, which was the worst, actually, even less than national average. So it's hard out there, but again, going on the brighter side, as I always do, the hardest times raise the most resilient and lean founders. So when the market is better in a few years, hopefully the best startups are going to come out from here.
I 100% agree with both of you because honestly, at the end of the day, it really depends on what type of entrepreneur that you want to be and what pace that you want to go at. Because if you take venture capital money, let's just be clear, they want that money back yesterday. And that's the type of pressure that you have on you every day. You're reporting to the board every little thing that happened, everything that went well is your fault, and everything that went bad is also your fault. And they will oust you in a heartbeat. And I think if you really pay attention to a lot of the most famous stories, you see founders getting ousted of their company. And you're like, how is that possible? Investors want their money back yesterday. And if they don't think that you're making the right decisions, you're not thinking like them about top dollar revenue, they will oust you in a heartbeat. So you have to know yourself, what type of business do you want? And I do believe it's important to create those wellness boundaries. It's okay to go at a slower pace. You don't have to be $1 million startup tomorrow. It can take time and requires effort, but like honestly, if you have the freedom of your sanity, that's priceless.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Hey, y'all. So I'm a little bit nervous. No reason why I felt the need to say that. Autism.
You got this. You got great
Anyway,
earrings too.
So, Queen, my question is really for you. So I'm a sustainable jewelry designer. I create one-of-a-kind pieces from things that have been broken or that people no longer want. I make beautiful work. People want it. I've been approached by cafes and galleries and things to sell, but then when it comes time to actually talk, then it's, we know that you do one of a kind, but can you really make like, a necklace that like has like 20 or 30? We just want more people to have it, more people. And one, that doesn't make sense for a sustainable brand because my materials are limited. Like this set of earrings came from 5 different pieces. And so my question is, how have you remained true to yourself and I guess in general to your brands when faced with questions about your core values, especially when it makes you question, should I be doing this? Should I just keep these all to myself? And there's so many days where I'm just like, screw it, I'm just gonna keep everything to myself. No one gets them. I don't want that.
Thank you so much. And I just want to say to you, from one woman to another, I see you, I feel you, and that which you just felt that we can all, that was palpable, it's very real. So, when you mix entrepreneurship with passion, and then there's that equation of profit, it's always a very thin line. And once you stake your claim to the ground as being, in your case and in our case, being committed to sustainability in your work, then there are gonna be times when you would either have to draw the line in the sand or adapt, be agile. This question, this is my life. This is my whole entrepreneurship journey. So what I can tell you is there are core values by which you can decide that these are non-negotiable. Like, for example, let me give you a story. When I started my business, my professor in design school, very well meaning, she was a mentor to me. She said, "Queen, you're a great designer. I love your work. But what you're focusing on, your market segment will be very small, especially in a place like Boston where all they wear is black, beige, and gray." So if I were you, instead of using African print fabric, I will probably pivot to Italian silks or cotton so that you can have a wider segmentation of the market because you do great design. And she was right. I went home, I was depressed for 2 weeks. I decided my business plan was a failure. I wasn't gonna do this again. And my husband said to me, "Are you gonna let an opinion of just one person stop you from your purpose and your passion?" Two problems with that. One, you have a purpose, and you were standing by that. That is your passion to make one-of-a-kind wearable art that is coming as a creative entrepreneur from your soul. It goes beyond just a product. But two, I don't believe in starving artists. So I always tell people you need, and this is my advice to you, because I did have to have this conversation, and this is where creating community and having allies coming. My work is at the PBDX's museum store. Shout out to PBDX's because they were the one museum shop that proactively came looking for me. We hear there's the local designer that makes handmade wearable art. If you know anything about museum stores, exit through the gift shop. Most things in there are just memorabilia of what is being exhibited. So unfortunately, there is nothing sustainable about it. Most of the things in the museum shop, even though they are the cultural preservators of artifacts and things. And so the PBDX's museum store, the director, Victor, came to me and said, "Hey, I know your price points are high. Our clientele are used to something lower than what you are offering right now, but we want to make a commitment to sustainability, not just as talking, but we want to walk the walk. So we are going to go into business with you. We are going to give you a boutique at the store. We are going to put our money where our mouth is, and we are going to stock your inventory. And whether it's profitable or not, we would share this cost together." The reason why I'm telling you this, and to everybody here, as a founder with purpose, there are times when you need to stake your claim and find a way to make it work. So for instance, these people that are like, "Can you make 20 pieces?" Yes, I could. You need to find a middle ground. I could make 20 pieces, but they wouldn't be the same 20 pieces. And that is what I have to offer. And you always have to throw it back at them. If you are all about supporting local, making sustainability more than just a talk or more than just greenwashing or more than just a check in the box, then I need you to be an ally here. Help me grow my business and help me further my mission to amplify that. And most of the times when you come back with that, for any purpose-driven enterprise, they would say, show me how. How are we going to do this? So you need to push back. But also you need to remember that we are not going to be starving artists.
Hello. The three of you all spoke about the importance of mentorship, and I'm curious, one, how you found the mentors that you've worked with so far, and how you continue to find new mentors as you scale your businesses.
Happy to go first. Believe it or not, my first job at a startup was a spin out from MIT and Harvard. It was a biotech company, and I was the office manager. And my manager, Mike, was a COO. Mike gave me every project that he didn't want to do. And I was like, Mike, I don't want to do this. Why would you give me this? I don't know anything about Excel. He was like, don't worry, we're going to do it together. Mike was the best manager that I ever had. He would constantly be putting me in front of the leadership team, making me present, making me like share my thoughts, my ideas on how best to move through a venture-backed startup. And I was employee number 7. I kid you not, the people that sat on the board remembered me. I didn't even remember them, right? I'm like, hi, okay, we have a meeting. All right, we've got to get this going. But they would come in every month and they would see me as this bubbly person. And then when I started my own business, one of them reached out to me, Jeff Westgate. Hey, what are you doing over there? What are you up to? And I'm like, why do you care? I'm like doing this business. I want to get started. He's like, okay, tell me more. Like, what did you learn? What did you like about it? And that was super helpful to me. So Jeff is a really great mentor, someone that I look up to and have really great conversations with. The other one is Vineet. Vineet was actually a professor at BU. He now is the managing director at Mass Ventures. When it came time for figuring out, oh, who can sit on our advisory board at Mass Ventures? If you're not familiar with Mass Ventures is one of the oldest standing VC firms here in Boston. What they do is they invest both private dollars and taxpayer dollars to make the Commonwealth great. Typically, they put them in academic spin-outs and then like grow technology to make it fantastic. Vineet said, I know someone who'd be great. Melissa James would be perfect on this advisory board. And I was like, what? I haven't talked to you in so long. He's like, you earned it and you deserve to be here. So I've been sitting on that board, learning more on the other side, seeing what it's like to decide on which businesses would you want to invest in, and then sharing my thoughts on it with the advisory board. And it's just been fantastic to be able to see the new entrepreneurs that come in, being able to decide. So those are some of my mentors from when I was just 21, and they remembered me. So I'm really lucky in that one.
Yeah, I think the first mentors were definitely professors, and a lot of you know that if you're really interested about the subject and you go to office hours and you talk with your professors, they're gonna know you, right? And they're gonna become your mentors, because people do want to help other people in most cases, right? A lot of people want to mentor people. So as long as you really are interested and really reach out, I think it works. And I think, I consider networking as a part of my everyday job, because again, work with a lot of founders, have to network with investors and every other person, it makes to see if they can help me or everyone I work with, right? So I probably meet at least 3 new people every week, right, over coffee chat. And how I do it is I learn about an organization like Mass Ventures, and I'm like, that's interesting. I go to their website, see who's the founder, or anyone cool, anyone I know through my LinkedIn connections, and I usually do, or just reach out to them like cold email, cold LinkedIn, something like that. And a lot of people do reply, right? If you write a good message, like I'm executive director of Dream, I think I just want to learn more about your organization because it has something similar to mine, or I'm just interested to learn your story, right? If it's personable and it's good. And I talk with coffee chat, and then if I really feel like this person can be a great mentor for me, we just start talking more, like every other week. And further, and it's just natural. I can't really tell like how many mentors I have because I don't classify people as mentors, right? It's like friends, connections, it's just, mentors. It's just everyone you know who can help you in any way, or who you can help in any way, right?
I mean, in addition to these two other ways of finding mentors, for me, I'm genuinely interested in people. And I always want to hear about stories and to connect with people. And if you listen to people, they will show you who they are. If you are attentive, you would know where your skills gaps can be met, where they can be addressed. So I always say to people that in trying to seek out a mentor, you need to have a goal. Most people who have gone down the route you're trying to go before, they are not squirrels trying to hold their nuts. They want to share. Actually, people are oversharers. You just need to find the right way to tap into whatever it is that you believe would be essential to your growth. I always tie mentorship to growth because you can outgrow a mentor, and it's fine because once that stage or that lesson that you needed to acquire is passed, then the mentorship actually goes into allyship. And so in seeking out a mentor, do not be afraid to walk up, reach out, like my co-panelist said, introduce yourself and listen. Most times, your to-be mentors would give you signs. They are the people that will be interested in what you are doing. So how is the business going? What are you finding about this? What do you think about? Those are clues. The people that are in the places that you want to go to, that are asking you genuine questions. And I know sometimes with a lot of mental things going on, you might feel like they are just being too invasive, or they're just trying to out you. But the people that ask you about where you are going, that are in the places and the spaces, that is a clue for that mentor. And I always say to people that this adage that you are always 6 people away to stardom, it's very real. Even if that person who is very genuinely interested in your business is not the right person to fill that skills gap, they are the people that will take you into rooms that you cannot go, or they will take you to tables that you are not privy to. And in the end, it will come full circle. So please, definitely, if you're looking for mentors, definitely make sure you know what sort of goals you have that, or what sort of skills gap or knowledge gap these mentors would bring to your life. Because it's a waste of a mentor's time if you have access to them and you don't utilize their skills or their knowledge or their help. So make sure that once you connect to somebody, you know exactly what it is that that relationship will further. And then the reciprocal of that is going back to give them feedback. Because when you come to a mentor with a problem, and they give you suggestions or they share their knowledge with you, one of the best ways you can sustain that relationship and ensure that it grows beyond that network to connecting to their network is ensuring that you go back to give them feedback, because they're genuinely interested in what they said to you and how it pans out. So one of the best ways, I reached out to somebody that Michelle, you know very well. I met him at CWE, an ally, and he was a male entrepreneur. And he gave me his card, and I called him. It was about funding. I had called up and I said, hey, I'm thinking about funding, and I have 1,001. And then the first thing he says to me is like, listen, I have made a lot of money and I have lost a lot of money. Too much, I can't even tell, millions of dollars. But it's okay, whatever you decide is enough. I'm only sharing that story because once I heard that from this multi-millionaire tell me it's okay to lose money in business, I was like, okay, I should be calling you more often to ask questions. I went back, I took his advice, I went back, and it actually panned out well. He was like, see, you did better than I did with my first round of funding. I screwed it up. So seek out your mentors, and they are always willing to shorten that skills gap.
Any more questions? All right, hang on.
Thank you so much. I am a founder of a company called Founder Way, and I took 10 days off out of a lot of guilt and a lot of gratitude that I could take that time off going into a round of fundraising. I want to ask a question which is really pulling strings in my heart and mind. The balance between bootstrapping and fundraising, the scaling that it can provide you and how fast you can go. Are there some factors that help you make that decision that I can consider as I go through this decision in my mind? So the question is, what do you look at when you decide not to fundraise and bootstrap? And what is your bootstrap cap, right? Like, I mean, you might have 300,000 in your bank account and you're like, okay, I'm gonna put in 50,000 or 25,000. Like, how do you determine your cap and when do you decide to fold? Loaded question, I know, but any of you can
I'm
choose.
curious, what is your business again?
We're a AI platform for
AI,
founders to
okay.
build their business from concept to first customer through AI. So we sell to colleges and universities to bring scale to their accelerators and incubators.
I'm just gonna, just because I'm here, I'm just gonna say that one, you should have, your business plan should tell you where you're going. And if you have laid out plans, we can plan, but planning is not finite and it's not guaranteed. But if in your plan, as part of your growth strategy is to go out and bring funders on, then you should know you're on the right path. If you are at this point still deciding how or whether you need to bootstrap or to find funders, then I probably would say you need to take a step back again, revise your plan, and your outlook. That would give you the answers to the question you're looking for. Because really, there is no one way or one better way or the other. I choose to bootstrap because I can afford to. I do have a fallback.
Yeah.
Some people cannot afford to bootstrap at all. And so your business plan should tell you whether you are making the right decision by going out to seek funding for this, or you can scale at a rate where bootstrapping still makes sense. That will not stall the company. Because there are times when if you are almost at that tipping point and you need to scale, there is nothing much than to find that funding to move you to the next level. So go back to that plan. That's what I would say. And it will tell you what you need to do.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. What if, and there's never one plan and the plan never goes as planned. And that's why I wanted to ask, like, what are factors which you kind of helped answer, what is your time and pace and your growth? So I really appreciate that.
I mean, I can, sorry again that I'm taking this up, but for me, my business is a product-based business. And so looking out, projecting, I can have a sense as to how much funds can bring me along my growth path.
Yeah.
And that is a determining factor for me. If tomorrow I decide that small batch production is not the way to go, and I decide I want to go into Nordstrom or I want to go to Better Book, I need funding. I cannot offshore like just finance that. And so for me, like I said again, depending on where you are going and looking at your own capabilities, it's a very simple decision. Now, what comes in, especially, I like that you brought that up. For us, I don't want to be stereotypical, but for female founders,
Yes.
we are most of the time cautious with money. That risk aversion is really ingrained in us. Don't ask me how or why. A combination of societal upbringing and nuances and indoctrination and all that. And so, yes, we always have that fear factor to take risks is there. So I would go back again. If you have all your plan, maybe there is a money mindset you need to be addressing. And so that might mean more work on yourself. And that is not a business plan issue. Thank you.
I totally agree, more work on myself, absolutely. Thank you.
And just to add to that, I mean, it's a very simple question for me. I think it's pretty math. Like for a software startup, you have to have an MVP, right? You have to prove that, you either give it for free to be your accelerator and they really like it and they pre-order, or you actually get money. Because otherwise you want raise, and then if you raise and you don't even have like any kind of like sign that accelerators wanted, that's really bad sign. So yeah, right, once you get some money, to $20, $500, doesn't matter, but actual money that universities pay to use your MVP, that's a good sign to go fundraise. And then it takes on average 5 months from now or 6 months to do fundraise. So calculate your burn rate, like how many employees do you pay them? Do you pay yourself? Definitely pay yourself like a minimum wage if you do, right? You can't just do like, oh, I should spend 100K a month and then, just do like the minimum expense you need to survive during the fundraise, multiply it by 6. Make sure you have it in your bank account. Because if you go to fundraise and think I'm gonna fundraise in 3 months, you're not, right? You're not gonna close the deal, pass their diligence. So make sure you have the money, the minimum amount of money in the bank for 6 months. If you don't, I would say bootstrap more, right? Because if you focus on fundraising, usually you don't focus on generating revenue, and that's a pretty simple explanation.
I already feel that burn.
Yeah.
And she's right, like fundraising is time consuming and it's gonna totally take up a ton of your time. You're asking a lot of questions. A lot of people say they're interested, but then they don't, and then they ghost you. So again, like I would say now sitting on an advisory board position, honestly, what I see as a common pattern is that like they get to almost $3 million in signed SOWs saying like, yes, we would totally buy this product through whatever number of customers that you have. If you've gotten to that number and all you need is funding just to explode and go faster, that actually is a good predictor of whether or not this business is going to be successful, right? Because you've already got the signed SOWs. All you have to do is just build out the rest of the product. People liked it, they were interested, and what investors want to see is that basically in 3 years you can give them back their money or less. So like you don't want to get yourself into that pressure cooker unless you really are sure based off of the market, because the market is our greatest teacher.
Yeah.
Based off of your revenue, so that you can have like a meaningful discussion about like, hey, like this is what I'm raising and here's why. Based off of where we are right now, I anticipate we'll be there, so that you can have that really eloquent conversation with them, so that you're not just like guessing. I totally get that some people like go through and start fundraising like with just an idea and some people on a wait list, but that's actually not the best position for an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you want an entrepreneur friendly deal, you want to be able to show them that you've got some money coming in, you've got some signed SOWs. The bigger the company, the better. So top schools that are interested in it, like if you can get a couple of what I call gold star organizations that are like, yes, I want to be a part of this, they'll follow suit. Like investors follow patterns.
Yes, we have 9 schools, we've MVP.
Amazing.
So, but as a woman being in rooms where you're like, when you hear that stat that somebody just shared at Mendoza Ventures, they were at a breakfast, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, am I setting myself up for failure? So that's the hard part. And since we're having like really honest conversations, I just wanted to ask this question. We're set for the business plan is to raise money for pre-seed, but you always feel like you're not doing the right thing and it's a me problem, as you mentioned, so.
Yeah, and like if you get the signed SOWs, like if you can go around and just get more schools to sign up and get you to that 1 million, 2 million, or 3 million, like then you have like a surefire, like we're having a meaningful conversation now, right? Because you've proved the business model, they're interested in seeing, okay, if you got to 1 million, let me see what happens when I give you a little bit of cash. Can you get to 2? Can you get to 3? So like really, I would say like, don't go into the pressure cooker if you don't need to, because otherwise then you're like really stressed out and trying to figure it out. If you get to a meaningful number in your revenue, that's when you can start saying like, okay, I should consider this. Because it's not worth it taking the eye off of your prize that you're building and that you love.
Yes.
You've already put in all the work out the kinks beforehand, because the more that it's smooth, once you get the capital funding, and it's never gonna be 100% smooth, right? We know, like, we just honestly made an MVP and it's just like, a PowerPoint deck or whatever that you have to do in order to get somebody interested in what you're building. So only go down that venture path if you are ready to work really hard for the next 3 years and you've got the revenue already there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all so much. Thank you all for coming out, for tuning in. Thank you to our wonderful panelists, your presence and participation.
I was excited.
I know, me too. Your presence and participation truly underscored the importance of empowerment within the entrepreneurial community. We can now give them another round of applause. I think they certainly deserve it. We've got a couple of minutes left over. Thank you all for your wonderful questions. I know we have about 10 minutes left.